when I was at headquarters. I took that long walk down the hall and looked at the photographs of the past presidents. Ulysses S. Grant. I mean, there are some very important, influential people on that wall. 125 years of presidents on the walls in that hall. And then when I get down to the end, there's a blank frame. And that's where my picture will go. There's no way that I can explain how that feels. I shake my head and I wonder how it all happened.
Faces of freedom, leaders of liberty, and now following in the shadow of their successes, a break in the timeline of tradition, yet symbolic of our changing times. Marion Hammer, the NRA's first female president. First, yes, but no surprise, because just like those whose footsteps she follows, the framework of the Constitution has always been her foundation for the fight.
She is an outspoken person, strong opinions, and stands up for what she believes in.
I think tough, first of all.
Oh, I love Marion.
She's very tough.
When she says it, you know she means it, and you know that her word is golden.
She's going to win no matter what it takes. And again, I think it's the passion.
It's that passion and pride that has made Marion Hammer a pioneer in defending the Second Amendment, in preserving that fragile freedom to own a firearm, a love for the sport that became a conviction, a threat to our rights that became real, the Gun Control Act of 1968 that became law.
We owned firearms, we enjoyed shooting recreationally and competitively, we hunted. And then one day there was legislation filed that was going to take away part of my rights. And that made me angry. It bothered me that the consensus was, well, they're not going to pass that. They're just yelling and screaming and they're putting on a good show, so they're not going to pass it. And I wasn't that optimistic, and they passed it. And then I think a lot of people started to wake up and realize at that point in time that this is really serious. And if we don't pay attention to who we're electing to office to represent us, and if we don't make sure they understand how we feel, then we could lose it.
A voice in the political process, first working as a volunteer, writing letters, visiting lawmakers, and testifying to make sure the truth was told. Then, in 1976, Marion was handpicked to head up Unified Sportsmen of Florida, a lobbying arm for the NRA. Together, their determination and drive were capable of defeating the defiant.
No, she's not 6 foot tall, and no, she does not intimidate you by her physical presence. But I don't think there's any question when you walk up to Marion Hammer and she walks up to you, it's just everything from her carriage to, just her demeanor. She's tending the business.
She wasn't one who compromised quickly, and I think that's something that she was proud of. Some lobbyists are pretty quick dealing, and they are willing to compromise in order to claim some victory. Marion always had a higher calling than that.
Everybody knows that when Marion's out there in the hallway, in the rotunda of the Capitol, that there's a reason, and that she's either there to kill a bill or to pass a bill. And if you were to get a note from Marion saying, I really need to see you, you knew it was serious business.
The fact is that she fights very hard for what she believes in. She simply will not see problems and let them lie or rest. Instead, she works every day of her life to better our society.
She personified what the National Rifle Association was all about. People who do believe in the right to bear arms, who are so convicted to that point of view that they're willing to work the extra hours and take the extra time and be here with a forceful presence.
A presence that was felt, a persistence that just didn't quit. From sunup to sundown, Marion walked the hallways of the state capitol, worked the lawmakers, and with the true skill of a marksman, shot down bill after bill aimed at stripping away our Second Amendment rights.
I have referred people to her who I believe are very important to the issue, who after an hour with her come out shaking their heads saying, how could I ever have believed otherwise? So she knows, and she's convincing.
And it's there that I think Marion was most effective. She consistently captured the undecided votes, and that's how you win issues and win positions in the legislature.
Changing minds and winning votes, a challenge Marion championed when she fought to return the right to carry to the citizens of Florida. But the odds were stacked against her from the start. A governor who threatened to veto it, lawmen reluctant to support it.
The issue was one most all of us law enforcement officers were against. No question about that. I think we were all quite fearful that we were going to be back into the days of the Old West.
It wasn't politically cool to be supporting that idea for folks at the beginning, and that's why principles matter. Because with the power of principle, you don't back down. You have the courage of your convictions. You say what you believe, and you stick with it.
It was that courage and conviction that guided Marion. Single-handedly, she mounted a massive grassroots response. Once the public started speaking, the lawmakers started listening.
She made sure that people who believed as she did took the time to write, took the time to call, and expressed their participation in government in a way that was meaningful. So I think part of her success is the fact that she not only was prepared, but she was able to motivate people to be a part of what they believe in.
I don't think that it would have ever passed without a Marion Hammer. And there are probably few people that could pull it off.
It was a great day. It took 7 years. And there were a lot of people who were frustrated. A lot of people gave up. A lot of people said, you're never going to do it. Well, we started it, we'll finish it, and we'll do it right.
And that's exactly what Marion did. Right to carry became law, putting Tallahassee in the limelight and Marion in the spotlight. Front page news, lawmen and lawmakers who once were non-believers now believed.
We as a society have lost our rights, and the great silent majority is starting to stand up and say, hey, we're tired of it, we don't want to be victims, and part of this is the right to bear arms and to defend yourself and your family.
Now, for the first time, because of people like Marion Hammer and other folks around the state, prisoners are serving their time. The crime rate is dropping.
I've always felt that my role is that of an educator, not a persuader, because I believe strongly in my issues and I do my homework. And I believe that if you educate with facts, they have to agree with you.
Legislative victories that also came with responsibility. The #1 reason why Marion Hammer created Eddie Eagle, reaching out to millions of youngsters, teaching them a simple message about gun safety that does save lives.
Stop! Don't touch! Leave the area, tell an adult!
Eddie Eagle, one of Marion's proudest accomplishments outside the political arena. An NRA program that has been endorsed by law enforcement agencies, schools, and communities, and won top national honors for making a difference.
When he put on his spiel about gun safety, you could see from the littlest ones to the older kids, all mimicking and saying everything he did really before he said it. So that showed to me there was a positive relationship, not only with Eddie Eagle, but also gun safety.
What better safety message can we give our youth than to make them safe, responsible citizens?
A future that Marion sees in her own family. A never-ending struggle to guarantee them the same rights she has today. Preserving the Second Amendment, safeguarding a tradition, reliving a part of her past each time she goes out target shooting with her grandson. Living with her grandparents down on the farm, hunting was a way of life. Learning the rules and respect for firearms from her grandfather was just part of growing up.
There was quite a bit of instruction before I ever got to shoot. And this was very serious stuff because I wasn't 6 years old yet. And when we finally got around to shooting, he had some tomato cans, and I remember that they were yellow and there was a big red tomato on the can. And he'd put those up on the fence post and turn the tomato towards me and tell me to shoot for the middle of the tomato. And my first shot drilled it, and I was hooked for life.
Family values that became values worth fighting for. Marion's father had paid the ultimate price for our freedom, killed at Okinawa during World War II. But in his memory, it's those same freedoms Marion battles for today.
I think it's a valuable mission she's taken on because they are trying to take our rights away. And I think as far as the Constitution, they should not try to break any of those laws. And they're doing it mighty fast.
Lessons of a lifetime Marion learned first from the spirit of the shooting sports, leadership and commitment that's already making an impact where it matters most, the young.
If you focus on a target, on the middle of the target, like number 25, on that target, then if you keep on trying and keep on aiming, then you'll get it. It's like life. If you keep on trying and aiming for it, you'll get it.
I think she's doing this for them, for hers and everybody else's, but she realizes that what she has enjoyed as a child and an adult, her grandchildren may never get to enjoy if the right to own and carry firearms for protection isn't preserved.
You know, we have a responsibility to youngsters to make sure that they learn the right things about firearms. If youngsters don't enjoy hunting, don't enjoy competitive shooting, don't enjoy plinking, don't enjoy the things that we associate with gun ownership, they won't feel passionate about the Second Amendment. And if they don't feel passionate about the Second Amendment and freedom and liberty, then they're the generation that could lose it all for this nation.
A new challenge to meet, a new journey in this flight of freedom. The American Eagle, a symbol Marion finds strength in, a sign of independence. Letting her conscience be her pilot, her courage be a role model. Knowing that destiny is not something you wait for. Destiny is a choice. An understanding to all who share in her mission that decisions made today will have consequences tomorrow. A hope in securing the rights sacred to our forefathers 200 years ago.
Eagles spoke to our founding fathers. Eagles speak to me.
Clearly, we would not have gone as far in the area of the right to bear arms had it not been for the presence of Marion Hammer.
In law enforcement, there's a term that we use, is that somebody you'd go through a door with? I think most cops would go through a door with Marion.
Wonder what Florida would look like if we had Marion Hammers focusing on our social service system and our education system and the other big public policy areas. I think it would be a lot better place.
She is an excellent role model, and more of our citizens and our children coming up in the schools need to realize that if there's something that they like about America, then it's worth fighting to protect, and that's what Marion Hammer does every day.
It speaks well for where we are in America today. You can be a grandmother and be tough and lead a large, prestigious organization like the NRA.